We are on our way to the front line. It's dawn. The Sudanese Revolutionary Front rebels are taking us to the Blue Nile State in the Republic of Sudan. War has been raging between the rebels who control the southern part of the province and the Sudanese army. We cross the border illegally into Sudan. Before we continue, we must camouflage our vehicle to avoid being spotted by Omar al-Bashir's aviation. Rebels have used bulldozers to create their own paths in the bush to transport troops and supplies. Our escort stops. A rebel convoy is coming back from the front lines.
Actually, this area, maybe 10 minutes. Yesterday, Antonov bombed even this area yesterday. More than 10 bombs. This area of Samara. So even the day before yesterday, people were bombed.
Khartoum uses its bombers to terrorize the population. The humanitarian situation worsens every day. En route, we pass refugees fleeing the war. As we approach the front lines, there are more and more empty villages. The scars of battle are visible. Houses burnt or vandalized. There are no civilians. More than 100,000 of them have fled to South Sudan or Ethiopia. Tens of thousands live hidden in the bush within the province. The ghost villages are now used as camps by rebel soldiers. We arrive on the front line. The men are restless. The Sudanese army is only a few kilometers away. These two burnt vehicles mark the first line. They belong to the SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces. In late April, they found themselves face to face with the rebels in a clash with rockets and machine guns.
We ambushed here and they are coming this way and we destroyed their car, including their weapon.
It is a static war, punctuated by sporadic heavy fighting and attacks by the Sudanese Air Force. The logistics are complicated by the lack of fuel and rutted tracks. The dead are buried on the battlefield.
He was shot here. We buried him there because his family is in Kormuk. And you cannot go there because of the war.
On this front line, men are fighting over the control of the city of Kormuk. The rebels held it until November, and then it was taken over by the military of General Bashir. Today, they surround it with more than 900 men. There is nowhere to evacuate the wounded. Awad was shot 3 times in the leg.
The fighters came out of nowhere. We found ourselves face to face with them. I heard a shot. I was hit. I tried to run. I grabbed my gun. There was a second shot. I fell. I've crawled and I was able to get out of there. I grabbed a stick to support myself and I walked. I eventually fainted and they found me.
The patrol continues. We are now just 4 kilometers from the enemy lines.
The SAF are there, deployed there. This is our last deployment from here to Kormuk. It's not very far. You can even at the night time you can listen to the voice of the people. The dogs and the goats are crying, even the chicken.
The fighters are former soldiers of the SPLA, the Sudanese People's Liberation Army, who fought for the South before independence.
All of these soldiers are sons of the Blue Nile. They were part of the regular army and became rebels when Omar al-Bashir violated the 2005 peace agreement. They saw how he treated the Nuba Mountains and the Blue Nile.
These former soldiers who helped their Sudanese cousins of the South found themselves on the wrong side of the border when South Sudan became independent in July last year. Now Blue Nile is administered by the North, and they continue their struggle against Khartoum. Their leader is Malik Agar, a former minister and governor of the Blue Nile state. He was dismissed by Khartoum in September. Now, he is President Omar al-Bashir's arch-enemy. As a hero of the Southern Rebellion since 1984, Malik Agar enjoys great popularity that allowed him to rally the rebellions of the Blue Nile, South Kordofan, and some Darfurian factions to form the Sudanese Revolutionary Front, 45,000 men who vowed to overthrow the Arab regime in Khartoum that discriminates black Sudanese.
The president said that the Sudan has become an Arab and Muslim country. Just look at me. I'm not Arab, Muslim perhaps, and proud of it. Why not? But I cannot become Arab. We are ready to take power if we have the opportunity, and we seek that opportunity.
Who doesn't want it?
Malik Agar has an impressive arsenal of weapons. This base is defended by Russian-built tanks, anti-aircraft machine guns, and artillery. Weapons the fighters say they captured during battle.
We got hold of the first tanks in '98 in Wadaga, then others in Gufa, and finally the last in Bunj. We did not buy them.
These women sought refuge near the rebel camp. They sing to stop the war.
We're from Ura. We came without clothes, without even taking a suitcase. I have nothing. We're naked. There is no water, nothing to eat. We can't go back there, the government is there.
Over 9 months of war, hundreds of thousands of civilians have fled the fighting and bombings. Yabous is one of the villages most affected by air raids. Amir shows us what's left of the hospital. It was destroyed by the Sudanese Air Force.
Omar al-Bashir targets civilians. Here's the proof. He destroyed the hospital. It was the only one around. Now we have to cross borders to neighboring countries.
Amir blames Omar al-Bashir for the war.
He wants to establish apartheid in the Blue Nile. He says it in all of his speeches. He wants to eradicate our roots. He wants to get rid of us. He calls us black bags. If he's a true Muslim, he will stop doing this to us.
Before the war, Yabous market was one of the largest in the Blue Nile state. Today, it's empty. There are only 2 open stores. Marzouk keeps one of them.
The souk worked very well. It was full of people. Then the planes came. Every day they bombed, 3 or 4 times, heavy bombs. And the residents fled into the bush. We all fled into the bush.
Marzouk takes us to where his family is hiding. Along the way, he shows us the craters left by Khartoum's Air Force.
When they get ready to attack, it makes a great noise. We know they're about to drop the bombs. Then you hear a big noise. People flee, run. The explosion makes you deaf.
Marzouk's family sought refuge 90 minutes walk away from Yabous. They live in this straw hut, hidden under the branches.
It's been 8 months to the day. Life is very difficult. Tonight it will be 2 days since we've last eaten. There's nothing to eat.
And things will get worse with the rainy season. In a couple of weeks, this will be a swamp. Farming and herding have stopped. In desperation, some try to mine gold. They descend into these pits and dig the earth with their bare hands. Accidents are common. Aren't you afraid it might collapse?
Afraid? I have no choice. If I do not go down into the hole, I won't find anything. If I do not go down, my family here will have nothing to eat.
They sieve the soil in the river. Hours of work in the hope of finding a precious few milligrams of gold dust. The gold is weighed and then bought by Ethiopian traders or used directly as money.
That's how much gold we find. This young man has struggled for nearly 10 days underground to find this small amount. People here are poor. They haven't developed techniques to extract the gold, but the gold is there.
These families have no choice but to risk their lives for a few milligrams of gold. The Sudanese government has expelled all humanitarian organizations from the Blue Nile. The sun sets on the rebel camp. The temperature has dropped and the fighters are training. Some are just 14 years old. After 9 months of war, the front has hardly moved. It's a stalemate. Peace is impossible without Malik Agar and his 45,000 fighters, who are determined to give black people a say in Omar al-Bashir's Arab Sudan.